Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. And this is a show for experts who want to become the authorities in their field by making an impact in the world. My name is Simone Vincenzi, and I'm your host. And every week we bring you a new episode talking with some incredible experts in their field and in the behind the scene on how they run their business, how they get clients, how they make an impact. So then you can get ideas and see, oh my God, I really like that. And then use it in your business. Now, if you haven't downloaded yet our expert business checklist, which is a checklist designed to understand where are you at in your business and what are you focusing on and what are your priorities. So then you don't go around in circles and get confused and implement maybe things in your business that are not right for you, then make sure you download it. You can find the link here in the show notes. It's called the Expert Business Checklist. It gives you a full assessment of who you are in your business, what are your priorities, what you should focus on your time on so you can get the results that you want. Because we found that the majority of people that get they struggle because they just do too many things at the same time. So if that sounds like you, make sure you download the checklist right now. In Also, if you're new to the podcast and you like the episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review. Let us know what you think. Now it is time to introduce my guest, and it is actually someone that I met about 10 years ago, at the very, 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 very beginning of my coaching business. I literally was going through my courses, and it was also the time, also the beginning of his business, and it is great to see to connect here after so many years and understand all the different dynamics and what happened actually in the past 10 years. So Massimo Montone, founder of Restaurant Keys, a full service consultancy and creator of Restaurants Launch Roadmap, where he teaches how to start your own food business, have the freedom you always wanted to fulfill your passion, and become a successful food entrepreneur. Massimo, welcome to the show.
Hello, Simone. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So, today is the Italian show. Today we
Oh,
are made in Italy. And I remember that me and you connected because of a passion for the catering industry. Before starting my coaching business,
yeah,
I used to work in restaurants. That's why I came here in the UK. You used to work in restaurants. You definitely had a much longer career than the one I did. You manage restaurant, you launch restaurant. So what I want to explore in this interview is what is the business model that you run. We're going to talk about that later, and some of the lessons that you got by running your business. And but I would love to start with your transition from managing restaurant to building your coaching business, because I know that a lot of people
yeah.
here they might be in other careers, and they're interested in see how the transition happened. So how was that for you, Massimo?
Well, the transition, it took a while to get the transition kind of evolve, kind of make it happen. It's something that I always wanted to do, move to have my own business and run my own enterprise. And I was always involved into coaching, and it was something that I wanted to do. But I also wanted to build a business and help other people. So the
Mm-hmm.
transition has been a challenge. It's been quite hard because when you work for someone else, you go there, you do the job, you tick the boxes, and you work for someone else, and you're always on the call to actually make somebody else money or make somebody else success. While I said, I'm really good at doing this. People are pulling me from one job to another. I would be headhunted for new positions or new jobs. And that's when I see a gap. And I say, look, I think I could actually build a business along what I do really well, which is opening restaurants. And
Yep.
the transition was done relatively well, but it was hard because it's not as easy when you go alone and you have to be the salesperson, the marketing person, and you have to do everything yourself. And you need to remember to work on the business and not in the business, which is something that likely as a manager I had that experience to do so. So that's how the transition I would explain as.
How many years for those people that are thinking about, okay, but like, how did it take you? Because I know that everyone has a different time
Yeah,
scale. And there are some people that in few months made it, and there are some people that
yeah.
took 10 years to make it. So, how about you?
Okay,
What was your time scale?
my time scale was very long. I'll just to give you an idea. My first website, massimomontone.com, I bought that back in 2004. You
2004.
2004, because I already wanted to build my business, and the name that I gave then was Bridge the Gap. So I wanted to bridge that gap of from the construction company that builds the restaurants to the actual people who run the restaurants. So that was my prospect. It was back in 2004. So I bought my domain. Another time, you had to go to the shop, you had to buy the disk, and you had to put it into the computer. Totally different. You've probably never seen that. So I bought that domain then, but then I went through several courses, some amazing books on personal development that I may have mentioned to you in the past. Went through all of that, went through the courses. But when I actually made the leap was between 2003 to 2013 to 2015. So it
Mhm.
took me 18 months to make the leap for good. But the moment I started to think about it was 2004. So I was stuck between 2004 to 2013 with this idea of launching my own business, and I never did until 2013. But 90% of the work was done between 2013 to 2015.
What was the resistance for you? What was the resistance for you? What stopped you from going, let me do this now?
The resistance was in the hospitality, as you know, you were in that business before, and many people they may listen. It's good money, very fast, very quick. And I started to work when I was 12, I think, in the restaurants, 12, 13. And you get good money, and you used to have your own freedom with the cash in your pocket and have a good lifestyle. So I think my resistance was the fact that I had to accept that going alone, I would probably struggle in the beginning, and cash was my resistance to leave something I know. In terms of personal development, I would look at it as my comfort zone, and leaving what I know for something that I don't know, and how am I going to do that? And I did that probably in the worst time when I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, but I was jumping from one job to another job, and I say that's it. Either it's going to go well now, or it's going to go bad, and likely it went well.
Likely, we are here having this conversation
We're
right
here
now.
now. Absolutely,
Oh, I
absolutely.
agree. I agree with you because I remember I started working in a restaurant when I was 14, and I quit university after 6 months because I was like, I'm just. I was 19 and I was making more than my mom and my dad put
Yeah,
together,
absolutely.
and I was and my mom had a degree. Um, I was like, if I have to study for so long just to wait another 10 years to get a salary which is going to be lower than what I'm earning at 19, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
And I gotta say that a lot of people they discredit the catering industry as a job. It's like, what do you do? Oh, you're a waiter. And I think because it is easy, like it's the kind of job like a sales assistant or a waiter that a lot of people do when they have nothing else to do or they can't find anything else because the barrier to entry is very low. But there are few
yeah,
people in this industry that they are obsessed with the industry,
yeah,
that they
yeah.
live and breathe the industry. And so what I would love to ask is like, what did you learn like in your career as you're going to managing and launching a restaurant that actually was crucial for you in your success in business right now?
Okay, what I learned as a manager in restaurants, I think the main skill that I did learn managing people and working in restaurants, like you say, you go in very young, you can work without any degree. I was going through always through both business books, so I would always improve myself as I was managing restaurants. But there is one skill that took me to the top very fast, and it's people skills. The ability to understand people. And that didn't come alone. I was a bad manager. When I moved to Bermuda back in 2001, 2002, I was given the opportunity to manage very young. And I was a bad manager. People were just not listening to me. And lucky enough, they understood that I had to work on myself. So I started to learn how to improve my people skills. Then my ability and my also lucky coming from a very small town in the middle of nowhere in Italy, where you have to have people skills, otherwise you don't talk to anybody. So people skills is what took me to the top, where I became a good manager. And that is helping me now running my business because I have an ability to deal with people that is unique. I deal with clients, with other consultants. When I launch a restaurant, I will probably deal with another 10, 15 consultants at the same time. They need to be managed. And the ability to get along with another 10, 15 experts in order to open on time and on budget requires extremely people skills, but at the same time, you have to be assertive and you need to be strong when you need to be, because you are the authority there to actually make things happen. And the restaurants business and being a manager helped me to pull the strings that way, because I had to work with the people from different country, different culture. Most of them maybe couldn't speak English, so you have to be able to communicate with them clearly so they understand what you're talking about. And I think that helps me today. And I look back and I'm going like, wow, whatever I learned when I was a junior manager is helping me now launching a 10 million pounds restaurant.
Yeah.
How fun is that? So
It is uh, it is one of these things that I wish everyone would go and do shifts in restaurants
yeah,
if they want to run their business, because you learn how to deal with clients, you learn how to make people happy, you learn customer service, you learn how to put smiles on people's
yeah,
faces, you learn how to have difficult conversations with
yeah.
people. Simply when you have a client and now their dish doesn't come out well, or they don't like it, you are the one that has to deal with them, not the chef. And of course, going to the fights between the kitchen and the floor, uh,
That's a,
and the love and hate cat and dog relationship that there is there. We're not going to go there today. We're not going there today. But I wouldn't be able. I think when people ask me when was your first training in public speaking, my first training was the order that I was taking to a table of 30 people. And you
absolutely.
have to explain the menu, table of people, and making sure they don't order all different things. Otherwise, you get names from the chef.
You're completely right on that. When I moved to Bermuda in early 2000, it's very much Americanized. And the specials that you have to tell to the table, it's not just, you have to tell the specials. You have to tell the starter, the main course, the desserts. Like, it's like 5 minutes speech on the specials. And that's a public speaking, because you need to tell them what it is. They need to understand you, and you need to sell it to them. So it has got everything that you would do in a public speaking. So I agree with you.
I learn about the sale and upsell, cross sell, when you recommend the dessert, when you recommend maybe a slightly more expensive bottle of wine. And I think that that's what makes the difference between it. Like one of the things I was opposed, and I still love the catering industry. And I was living it and breathing it, and it was a pleasure for me working on every single shift, because it was about serving the client. And if I think about the parallel with what we are doing now, is that
Yeah.
I'm here to make people happier. Before I did it with food,
Yeah.
now I do it with business consulting. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, absolutely. No, no, incredible, incredible. The restaurants what has given me as an expertise and experience. Back to the speaking, I would do the briefing, and I was always do the briefing at 6 o'clock, whatever the time is. And you know that you're doing a good briefing, and you've learned that when the staff is running to the briefing and says, "Who's doing the briefing tonight?" "Oh, there is Massimo. Massimo is still here. He's doing the briefing." "Oh, I want to go there," because I would structure the briefing in a way that they always have a takeaway. and they would always learn something, and there was always a challenge. So you would see like 40, 50, 60 staff in Aquashard, when we would do that, which was 200 staff. You can imagine managing a team of 200 people. And this is what I miss the most of running restaurants, or being there more at the time. It's actually that big team of young people, driven, come to the country with a dream. It's not essential being a head waiter, but they have a dream. And I was able to tap into their dream and say, you need to do this well if you want to succeed, or whatever you want to succeed in life. Do this well, and then you will find your path. So an incredible industry.
I absolutely love what you're saying. So you mentioned Aquashard. What are some of the projects that you or restaurants often launch that either they are more impressive, or that you're most proud of? When these things like, I helped to launch that restaurant.
I think the most challenging and the most impressive that I'm proud of, it's Suma Santwiga. I don't know if you heard of it. It's
Tell me more.
okay. Suma Santwiga, it's a Japanese Italian restaurant. It was done between Flavio Briatore, which you probably know. Yeah. I worked with him on the launch of this restaurant. That was his first restaurant here in the UK. So we launched that back in 2015, and they had all the challenges. Flavio Briatore, the first restaurants coming to London, with very, very high expectations, as you can imagine, and knowing his personality. Yeah. Then we had to open this restaurant in a site which was never a success. But rent was very good, premium was very good. It was very good place to launch this restaurant. It took us between, I think, 15 months to launch that. So I'm very proud of that, because it's a place now that people want to be. It's a place to be. It's a luxury place. So basically, just to give you an idea, the average bill, the average spend, it's £320. So give you an idea of what
Peanuts.
People may spend. Peanuts. So that's what this is, very, very high profile, and it's a success. And now I'm helping the brand to also move forward and opening in other locations. Working with them in a location in Middle East. And probably we're going to US with them. So that was the biggest challenge, because I had to travel a lot to Monaco, where Briatore was, travel to Monaco, do the meeting with him. But also I learned a lot. From someone like him, there is a lot to learn, despite the perception of people. And I think one key that I may say here, what I learned from him, is that he's still running his business as a startup, and he has got that in his head, and that he's able to make decisions quickly, fast, so they make an impact on the business. And the decision process that he has, being so fast, you move very fast. And what I learned there and working with him is that sometimes it's not important to make the right decision, but it's important to make the decision you think is right, as long as it's made at the right time. Because that's very, very.
Say it again. Say it again. I think this is gold. What you just said is gold. Say it again.
It's very important to make a decision than making the wrong decision, not to make the decision, if that makes sense. Yeah. So sometimes managers or entrepreneur don't make that decision because they either don't know what to do, or they're scared of making the wrong decision. So and it's more important to make that decision at that time, even if maybe the wrong one. And I learned that also while I was at Aqua. The decision process when I was at Aqua was very, 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 very urgent. So you had to make a decision back to back. Otherwise, you would have a stack up of decision to make that you would just crush. Yeah. So make a decision. Out of 10 decisions, maybe 1 or 2 they're wrong, you go back and you do it again, or you work on that. But if you would stack up decisions and not making them, you would just collapse yourself as an entrepreneur or as a manager. In fact, when I would recruit a manager for that project, or for any project that turns around a lot of cash, like Suma Santwiga or other big projects, what I look into a manager is their ability to make decisions quick. So, which I think is very key to an entrepreneur.
So based on this, I want to build on this, and I want to ask you, what is a decision that you had to make quick without knowing if it was the right one or the wrong one, but you had to make it in a crucial moment? Do you have that in mind?
Yeah, I do have in mind because it happens to me twice. So the second time I know what to do. So, so the first time happened many years ago. I was running this restaurant. There were the 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. You imagine the restaurant's full, people waiting outside to come in and dine. You've served half of them. There is a power cut. The power goes. So when the power goes into a restaurant, the extraction fan stops, so you won't be able to cook because there is no gas. So you have a decision. The power can come back in 10 minutes, or the can come back in 4 hours, which 4 hours, it's the minimum that EDF or any power company will eventually pay you the insurance and so on and so on. So you have to make a decision. The power may come back or may not. So you make the calls, you try to do this. And at the time I called the owner and said, what do you want me to do? And he said, I don't know. That's why I hired you, to make this decision. I said, okay, so what do I do? And the decision at the time, after 10 minutes, speaking to the manager, speaking to the other managers, speaking to the manager, I kind of put it together. I tend to like that, I kind of try to speak to everyone very quickly and then make a decision so everyone works together with that decisions and you have nobody against you. So that's the process. And the decision was to make that we would tell each single customer that the restaurants the power wouldn't come back. We wouldn't know. It could come back while guests would leave. But my decision was made on the principle of saying, who is the most important person here? My cash register for tonight or the customers? And the customers, all they want to have a good dinner. Now, I need to do that for them. So what we did, we split the restaurants in five. Each manager will speak to a team, to a group of people and tell them that we wouldn't reopen. So you can stay in the dark with a candle and have cold cuts, or we can help you book a table to another restaurant. So the reception team start to call at the restaurants, book table, book taxi. So the power that night, everyone left happy, very, unhappy about the situation, but happy about knowing what to
About the
do,
service, yes.
about the service. So help them to do all of that. And the decision was the right decision. The power went off around 8 o'clock. It came back a quarter to 12 at night. That's when the power came back. So I made the right decision. And the same happened to me after 7 or 8 years, no more, maybe 10 years. It happened to me at Aqua in the Shard. The Shard was moving because there was so much wind and the gas stopped pumping. So there was no gas. So what do you do? Well, you tell the guest or not. So the decision was made at that time, quicker than the first time, to tell the guest that we wouldn't reopen because the wind was too strong. And it was easier at the time because the wind was so strong and it would be very difficult for the gas to come back. But that was very, very difficult decision because you really don't know what it is right and what it is wrong. And whatever you do, you just have to do it. You just have to do it.
I love the stories, and like for those of you that are listening, they don't know what the Shard is. The Shard is like the highest skyscraper that there is in London, and the Aqua Shard is a luxury restaurant that is inside. Was that like 30? No, what floor? No, sorry, 50 something
No,
floor?
31, 31st.
One, 31st floor, 31st
31st.
floor.
Yeah.
And uh, so that's the situation, and that's it, and it's really prestigious. Actually, I live about 10 minutes walk from the Shard, and with my wife we go there. Well, before COVID, we used to go there very often just to get a drink at the Aqua, and then leave. uh, so I really absolutely love that place. I mean, the Aqua Shard is not paying any promotion, any commercial, for full
No.
disclosure, but it's a place to go and visit on a personal recommendation. I have a last
Yeah.
question that I want to ask you, Massimo,
Yes.
before we wrap up. Around So you now run a great business. You help restaurants open, and we are in the time of COVID. And I remember that it, I was shocked when you told me. We caught up on Instagram, I think, messages,
Yes, yeah.
and I asked you, so like the restaurant world now with COVID, because I was assuming that it was at a standstill. Everything was gonna be closed down, and you said is the year where I've opened one of the year where I've opened the most restaurants.
Where I work on opening most restaurants. So
When you work, okay, sorry, where you worked on opening most restaurants.
yes.
So I'm thinking, what's the thinking in the opening a restaurant right now? I want to understand, like business wise, what sense does it make?
Okay, so um, I'm gonna reveal a very key factor when you buy a restaurant, so people understand the whole process and why we focus there as a company. So when there was COVID, we firstly focused on doing what we do right is opening restaurants. So we went a little bit more out and say that's what we do. We open restaurants. We did add some crush. I mean, some people writing me back, why would you sell opening of restaurants now? Just like what you told me, it just doesn't make sense. It's the wrong time to do that. You have to help people with COVID. It's like, no, that's not what I do. I help people opening a restaurants, and there is an opportunity in the marketplace now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And like everything, I always learned that when there is problems issue, when there is a crisis, there is always an opportunity. And we're not trying to be selfish, but we try to see where the opportunities are.
Sure.
So the opportunity is very, very simple. When you buy a lease for a restaurant, now every lease that you buy in order when to move in a good property, in a good location, there is a value attached to the lease, which is
Yeah.
called premium. The premium, they're called also key money. Those key money, to give you an idea of a restaurant in a good location in London, I'll give you Mayfair, which is
Yeah.
one of the top locations. A premium for restaurants around 200 or 300 square meters, it would have cost you 2 million, maybe 3 million pounds to buy that. While during the COVID period, landlords are becoming a lot more flexible.
Yeah.
So this 1 million, 2 million becomes zero. Actually, it's reversed. So reversed in a way that the landlord is happy to give you, as the person who's taking over the lease, give you possibly free rent for 12 months. Plus, you can do an injection of 200, 300, 400 pounds, 500 pounds, up to a million. Depends who's doing the negotiation.
Wow.
So that's the opportunity. And this happens in small scale and big scale. So I'm talking about millions, but we can talk about thousands of
Sure.
pounds.
Sure.
So not only they will not negotiate much on the rent, but they would give you, because landlord, they don't want to drop the rent value, because unfortunately there is a loan bank involved, so they cannot drop the loan, but they are able to give you money instead of you giving money to whoever was there. So the opportunities, that's where the opportunity is. So I focus on that, and I focus on that and teaching that to people. So some smart entrepreneur or people who want to open a restaurant, they either saw this or somehow they say, look, we need to move on that. And that's how people are more attached to it. It is difficult.
Yeah.
It is very difficult still, but people who have the cash and they want to invest, and buying a lease, it has got a value, because when things get better, just the fact that you hold that lease, you may resell it again for that kind of value money, for the money that was valued before COVID. So, and that's where
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And that's why people hire you.
exactly, that's why they
And
have
that's why people hire you.
exactly.
I love it. You said something right, which I think is a great way to wrap up. I mean, it's not, you said a lot of things right, but you said something that I really loved about when there is a crisis, there is always an
Yes.
opportunity, always a balance. And it's about us focusing on the opportunities. The more you focus on seeing crisis, the more crisis you will see.
Absolutely.
The more focus on seeing opportunities, the more you will do that.
Yeah.
I one of our businesses, because my business partner Ben manages our sales. We have a sales training company for recruitment agencies.
Yeah.
At the beginning of in March, we lost all our clients. Like literally, we're like 250K of contracts gone
Wow.
in one day,
Wow.
like this. And he worked for at least a year and a half to build the relationship, to get in, get
Yeah.
the contracts, because we were talking about like 100, 200,000 contract a pop. So it took about a year to close those contracts. And as soon as we started it, COVID hit, contract off. And
God.
yeah, it was tough. It wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good day that day. But then we looked at it and we said, okay, what can we do? And he said, well, right now, he remember when he started is he started as a recruiter. That was his background as a sales recruiter. That's
Yeah.
why we have the company. And he said, I knew that I came into the recruitment business as a young recruiter during the recession that happened
2008.
a few years
Yeah.
ago, 2008.
Yeah.
And he said, I killed it. I killed it because, well, all the other big companies, they were going down because they couldn't afford to pay their staff and so on. All the movement of power went to from a big recruitment agency to small recruitment agencies
Yeah.
because they were only the only one who could be alive.
Yeah.
And so he said, let's invest in recruitment agencies. So now we have shares in about four different recruitment agencies, I think three or four.
Yeah.
We started our own one.
Yeah.
And we are having more movement now that we have
Yeah.
seen in contracts and things happening that we would bad talking about contracts for like 300, 400 places
Wow.
that before they were just reserved to the likes of the Adeco group
Yeah. Yeah.
or one. So there is always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity depending when you focus on. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so Massimo, if someone wants to reach out to you, maybe someone wants to open a restaurant or someone wants to learn from you. They want to follow you. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is either to my Instagram profile, massimo.montone, or restaurantkeys.co.uk. Go on the website, restaurantkeys.co.uk, and you can submit a form there, or there is a little tab at the bottom. You can just ask. I will respond to them myself when I can. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And make sure that you follow Massimo definitely on Instagram because his content is great. He's releasing a lot of videos every single day on different things related to sales, persuasion, influence, marketing, all for restaurants. And also, if you know, maybe it's not you that you're interested in opening a restaurant, but you know someone else that wants to open a cafe. It doesn't have to be like one of the bigger one because Massimo works with some large clients. We works with it to create the full launch of a restaurant. So we're talking about multi-million pound projects, but it helps with other programs as entrepreneurs that want to open their cafe or a small restaurant or a boutique restaurant. So make sure you pass them Massimo's contact because you never know if they. I know being part of the catering industry, when you're launching something new, you don't know what you don't know. And in the restaurant industry, a small mistakes can cost you hundreds of thousands. I know this from experience. So make sure you reach out to reach out to Massimo. So Massimo, thank you very much. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's my so make sure you subscribe right now if you haven't subscribed yet, and also leave us a review. Let us know what you enjoyed the most about this all Italian episode today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time because together we grow exponentially. Ciao.